Actually, my favorite game to play right now is Guess Where I'm From, which puts people in a very, very awkward situation. But I stopped playing that as well because I get answers that I don't like. So I was talking to an American girl in Korea, and she went, "You have an accent." And I thought, "No, baby girl, you have an accent. Where are you from?" And I was like, I'm South African. And she, no jokes, went, "Oh, South Africa. Where in South America is that?" And I laughed. I was like, "Good, that's funny." And then I looked at her face and I could see her confusion and my laughter. And I'm like, no, South Africa. It's where it says it is. It's in South Africa. But this video isn't about that. This video answers the question, where are you from? And I specifically really like this question now, and I'll tell you later why. But first, when did asking, where are you from, become a question? But when did asking, where are you from, become a problem? I think for a lot of people, it's because where are you from is often then followed by a sense of disbelief. So if I go, I'm South African, and people go, nice, maybe they'll even say something about South Africa that they know. But it's when people go, where are your parents from? Where are your grandparents from? Where are you really from? Or in my case, I know a lot of people ask, where are you from? Because the actual question is then followed by, why are you white? It's because when you fly up, the color goes down to your feet. So my feet are black, but my face is white, and that's why Indians are brown. Like, I can do anything about that, guys. You think I chose to be white? I would love to be that beautiful caramel color, but no, I'm white, like vampire white. Like, you don't need a light white. So I think that's where the problem in it came in. But it did make me realize, with all of the different cultures, like, different cultures have different questions and different ways of asking questions, and this gets really interesting. And I think the problem maybe with asking where someone is from is it's not a question of geography, right? It is a question of identity, of belonging, like, which tribe is your tribe? And for many people these days, that's not a simple answer, because when do you become, in this case, for example, German? I have a colleague, or an ex-colleague, brilliant guy. The first time I spoke to him, I immediately went, nah, this guy's not a German, just by his vibe, not a German. But he's definitely not an African either, because he just doesn't have the accent. I mean, like, he doesn't have the polished British accent of, like, a Zimbabwean. He doesn't have, it just didn't fit. And I was like, he doesn't have the shoulder movements of an American. You know that they will let you know that they're American. Not just that they're, like, from the United States, but, like, where specifically. So I was like, where does this guy? And eventually I was like, where are you from? And he was like, oh, I'm a German. I was like, oh. Like the racist I am, apparently. I didn't put German and black together. Me, oh, it's South African. But it made me think of this thing of, like, where you are from also gives you the stereotypes of how you think other people should behave and should be. And maybe that's part of the problem of, like, where are you from? Anyway, back to the questions. So looking at a cultural lens, we see that different places, especially the places I've lived, have different answers to this question. In Korea, when someone asks you, like, how old are you? Terrible question to the South African one. But there, because they have a language that, has multiple layers of formality, asking where are you from is actually, how should I address you? And it's something you just can't get out. If a Russian asks you, how old are you? Especially to women, he's probably asking you why you don't have kids yet. And if a German asks you, where are you from? I mean, where do you live? They're probably asking if you have money. But I think mostly if another expat asks you where you're from, they're probably giving you a bit for connection. Especially me, I get so excited when I almost maybe even think someone could maybe perhaps be South African or South Africa adjacent, because there are so few of us abroad, and I get so excited when I meet one of us. Until I talk to them, and then I'm like, oh wow, you're from the Cape. That's a different story. I think for some people it's also just like a language thing. Trevor Noah definitely, I think, has this right in his book, Born to be a Crime. Highly recommend that you listen to the audiobook because he reads it. But in his book, he postulates that it's not about what you look like. It's often about the language you speak. And even this to me doesn't help sometimes, because some people have learned to speak such proper British that I think they're British, and then I find out that they're Mexican, and I get very confused. And on the topic of Mexicans, I think part of why I love South Americans specifically is like, often if I tell a South American, oh, I'm South African, they go, okay, no doubt, no micro expressions to go, I don't believe you. I love these people. And I loved them until I actually went to South America. When I went to Colombia, and I sat in a like, basically a taxi. I sat in a taxi with a driver, oldish man from Cartagena, and we were driving, and he goes, in Spanish, where are you from? And I'm like, I'm South African. And he goes, oh, where in Spain is that? And it is the first time I went, oh, that's so nice. He thinks I'm Spanish. Anyway, but then it was like, wait, it's like, stop. I was like, Senor, are you actually asking me why I'm white? And he goes, oh, I didn't know how to ask. So for Colombians, this is about being chismoso. They don't really care. They just want the story. So I was like, okay, Colombia is my favorite example, because you have exactly the same problem. Colonialism, lots of white people, lots of mixed people, lots of black people. And he was like, okay, so you have white Colombians, we have white South Africans. We have the same history. You just speak Spanish, we speak English. And this was so much fun for me. I really, really enjoyed this moment. And then I realized another thing about this where you start from thing. Depending on where you're from, you have ideas about other countries, right? So for me, if Sean guesses that I'm French, I go, I love being French. It is such a lovely thing to say. But if they're like, oh, you look Russian, or oh, you look from the United States, I'm immediately offended. Immediately, I go, why would you say that? And if they ask me something that I know a lot of people here in Germany face, where they're like, why do you speak such good, in their case German, in my case English? Not that anyone says I speak good English anymore, because every country just rubs off a little bit. I don't even sound remotely South African anymore. I'm going on a tangent on it. Anyway. But I think for a lot of people, we just want a shortcut, right? You want a place to place this person in your brain because you can't. But I think these days, it's simply just not that simple for a lot of people. One of my friends is, his parents are Indian Pakistani, but he grew up in Japan. Is he completely Indian? I don't know. Debatable, and I don't think there's an easy answer for this. So if you feel like you don't fit in this perfect round box that this has been given to you, I'm going to tell you that it's totally fine. And I really took this as a challenge for myself to realize, like, how do I think about myself? Not just my country, but genuinely, like, how do I think about myself when someone asks, where are you from? And I also think, these days, try to not be offended if you are, when someone asks you, where are you from? If someone asks you, where are you from? Consider this. They ask you, where are you from? Because you're interesting enough to ask. And I think that's magnificent. I think somewhere this should segue to like, but what about the honest answer? The answer you don't give at parties, because it's not exactly small talk and it's too long. The answer you keep in your head like a secret. I'll have this and I'll tell you, beautiful people, that a lot of the times when people are like, why are you white? And I ask them, do you know what apartheid is? And they go, yes. Then I actually get quite angry because I'm like, okay. So you know about colonialism, you know about apartheid, you know that apartheid was more or less, in a greater scheme of things, a bloodless revolution. Yes. I'm like, where do you think the white people went? We stayed. A lot of white South Africans are not as bound to Europe as many people think. Like, my cousins are Afrikaans. Like, they don't have European anything and they're not interested. And I think that's quite like, I don't know. I don't even know how to feel about it, honestly. Afrikaans people, or anyone who is South African or has multiple nationalities, how do you feel about this? What do you think, Teddy? Teddy is an inanimate bear, but I promise that Teddy supports you in all ways. Say bye, Teddy! Bye!